PK in the universe, and welcome to my channel. Today I'm here to talk about fishing with my son and then going game hunting. You know, I had never seen a video where someone went fishing in the video and then later went game hunting, so I thought, well, I'm going to put a video like that out into the universe. So here we go. Today I'm at Lake Atwood and I'm doing some fishing today with my son. So we're going to have a lot of fun doing that. Yeah, there's nothing like fishing. It's good to get some fishing out in the day. Later on, I will be going out to the Kane County Flea Market. We will be looking for video games and vintage toys, maybe some vintage TMNT toys. My son's actually been looking for the vintage TMNT figure Mutagen Man, so that's on the list.
I lost my worm, Dad.
You lost your worm? Okay. I'll help you get a new worm, okay? The fish haven't really been biting all that much today. We should have got out here much earlier in the morning. I ended up forgetting to put on the right shoes and I had to go back. Hopefully we have a lot better luck game hunting than we have had fishing so far. There's just something so relaxing about fishing. Well, except for my son, he keeps getting really irritated by the fact that he has to keep putting new bait on because these fish, either they're stealing the bait without it coming off the hook, or it just keeps getting lost, which is to be expected, honestly. So fishing went pretty well for the most part. We were only out there for about an hour. And, you know, because it's like after a while, you just kind of, you know, you have to just take a step back. And it's like, okay, we got other things to do in our day, like go to the flea market. That was the other thing. And, yeah, we caught a few, like, bluegills and there was pretty tiny fish. I don't think we caught a fish that was, you know, more than 6 inches, you know, long. They were pretty small, you know, but it was a lot of fun. It requires so much patience, of course, you know, and ultimately there's the thrill of, you know, actually catching something. So I'm not much of a fisherman at all. It's not something I regularly do. I've probably fished more with my son than I ever did as an actual kid, you know, fishing. So, but yeah, that was a lot of fun. Up next, the flea market. Today I'm at the Kane County Flea Market. We'll see if we find anything good. Let's go. My son and I both had some specific collecting goals in mind when we went to the flea market. He wanted to get vintage TMNT action figures, and more specifically, he was looking for Mutagen Man. Honestly, I'd kind of forgotten about Mutagen Man. I was thinking he was talking about Muckman, which is actually a very different character, but we'll get into that a little later. And my goal was to get Atari 2600 games. But what did we ultimately get? I never found any Atari 2600 games at all. It was the weirdest thing. I actually found an old Atari in a box, and I think I saw Magnavox Odyssey, but never any Atari games at all. I really like to collect for the Atari because the games are stupidly cheap. You can usually get them for like $1 to $3. Atari games are really cheap, but I did get some NES games, and I'm going to tell you guys what I got. Now, I had really mixed feelings about this vendor. This vendor had a ton of NES and Sega Genesis games, but he did not seem like the type of guy who wanted to negotiate. You know, you could tell he was very firm in his prices and just didn't really seem very approachable. You know, there's a lot of vendors who I've talked to, you know, they're just waiting and ready to make a deal, you know, but this guy was not like that. And some of his prices were a little steep. Talk about steep. Like he had Fact Xanadu up for like 20 bucks. That game's $10 to $12 all day. I'm telling you right now. It's like if I'm gonna pay that kind of money, it's like why would I pay that kind of money when I could just go on eBay and get it for less? He also had this game called The Magic of Shahrazad, a game I found recently, actually for like 10 bucks 3 weeks ago. Yeah, The Magic of Shahrazad. If you've never played this, definitely worth checking out. It's a very unique game for the most part. It's a very unusual RPG, of course, because it takes place in an Arabic, Arabian Nights type setting. But yeah, he had it up for like $40. So had some bad feelings about this guy. Now the games I did get from him were, within eBay prices. They were not way above eBay prices like this guy had before. In fact, I felt like there was a lot of vendors and just in general who just had no interest in negotiating at all. It was really strange. First up, we got Kung Fu Heroes. That's right, folks, Kung Fu Heroes. This game was published by Culture Brain, who also published The Magic of Shahrazad. I bet you guys were wondering what these things had to do with each other, and that's what it is. That was the connection right there. This game is not like that at all. It's not an RPG. It's actually a top-down beat-em-up game, and you basically fight everybody, and you can play two-player as well. You fight everybody that's on the screen, and then enough people get defeated, and then the door opens up, and then you go to the next place. So, pretty interesting game. It's usually an $8 game, and definitely worth the price for sure. Up next is, how do you say that? Barai Fighter? Is that how you say it? This game is a side-scrolling shoot-'em-up or whatever, and you basically, you play as this guy that's on the cover. He's got like a jetpack and he's shooting stuff. Don't know too much about this game or whatever. Yeah, I paid like $2 over eBay price. I think I got this for like 20 bucks. I just really love the cover. The cover looks so freaking cool. I am definitely going to check this out. I have not played too many side-scrolling shoot-'em-ups lately, so this might be a lot of fun. Up next, I got a game that I've bought this game actually like twice. Used to have it complete in box, but I traded it to my good friend Jogo's Retro a while back for some Atari games. And I've always wanted to get this game back in my collection, and now I finally have it again, and that is Legacy of the Wizard. Legacy of the Wizard. This is one of those games that really goes under the radar of a lot of retro gaming enthusiasts, especially people who just got into the NES maybe, or were just getting into the NES. Might not be familiar with this title. They might not think much of it since it's like a $10 game. Legacy of the Wizard is fantastic. It is a adventure game like Zelda, but it's not just one hero. It's 5 characters with unique attributes that each have their own special qualities that you really need to use each character for specific places to beat the game ultimately. And it's this family and their dog, and basically they have to, stop evil from happening kind of thing. It's been a while since I played this, but I've wanted to get this back in my collection for some time, and I'm glad it's still really, really cheap. Now I'm going to share my son's pickups, but obviously he didn't get games. He got vintage Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's funny, he loves the 2012 TMNT, he likes the 2017 Rise of the TMNT, but he likes the old school vintage figures that I grew up with more than anything. I don't know, he doesn't care for the original old school cartoon as much, but he really, really likes the figures. He was looking for Mutagen Man, and we came across a vendor who had a bunch of vintage TMNT figures. And we asked him if he had Mutagen Man. Apparently Mutagen Man is super rare, especially rare when it's actually complete. Apparently that one fetches some big bucks or something. I don't know, but he did not have it. But he did have some really cool ones, and he gave us a really good price. I think we paid like 25 bucks for all this. We have a Leatherhead, pretty nice looking Leatherhead here. We got Toka from, of course, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2: Secret of the Ooze. I don't know. It's a good movie. It's not my favorite Turtles movie. Like, my favorite Turtles movie is the original, of course, but that was pretty good too. You got Ground Chuck, of course. Is that his name? Is it Ground Chuck? I think it is Ground Chuck. Well, anyways, yeah, Ground Chuck was on the cartoon, I believe, and I think he teamed up with like a gopher or something, if I'm not mistaken. He was also in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3 NES game That's where I know this guy from. So also we got a Mauser, and this thing has showing its age. It's like supposed to be gray, but it's got like it's very faded and whatnot. This thing is freaking huge though. I mean, look at it compared to like Ground Chuck or whatever. That's crazy how big this thing is. And the cool thing is that on the back there's this button, you push it, and it's like the legs are supposed to move, and it kind of works. Yeah, see there it is. Yeah, but pretty cool. And the final thing he got was this cool bike horn. That's pretty freaking awesome. A vintage TMNT bike horn. We got all that for 25 bucks. What a freaking steal. Yeah, going to the flea market's really hit and miss sometimes. Sometimes you find some really great deals. Sometimes you just kind of like, what are these vendors thinking? Who are they kidding themselves? These are eBay prices. I'm not paying this, But then sometimes it's like, well, am I actually going to go and wait for this to be shipped, or I can just have it right now? There's ups and downs to both those things. Or going to actual like resale stores that sell games or whatever. I really like to go to this place called Disc Replay up in Rockford. I go up there periodically to visit family. So, every once in a while I venture over there. And of course, that's where I mentioned that I got the Magic of Shahrazad, for 10 bucks, which is, pretty fair price. That's a pretty fair price. Yeah, the vendors were kind of all over the place. Some people wanted to work, like the guy with the Ninja Turtles, he was so cool. Like him and his brother like ran that booth or whatever. And yeah, they were just very nice people. And the fact that I had my son with me, and they were just like, I'm going to give you an even better deal, Originally, when I first started collecting vintage Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, it was for myself. It was like all about recapturing my childhood and whatnot and all that crap. And then my son was born. And then he got older and he was like, I want to play with these. And I'm like, fine, they're yours. I don't want to be the cringy old man who's just hoarding toys. Toys were meant to be played with, So that's kind of my personal philosophy. And he's really gotten into collecting the old vintage Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Whenever I do go to the thrift store, I always keep an eye out for those to see if there's any around. So, yeah, we got some pretty good deals overall, and I'm pretty pleased with what we got. Would have loved to have seen some Atari 2600 games and added more to that collection, because I do have a Atari 2600 video planned at some point here. But overall, I was pretty happy. I definitely learned a lesson, too, about, I had this crazy idea. I'm like, ooh, I'm going to do a really good, game hunting video. And you know what? It's hard to do. It's hard to do a good game hunting video unless you have somebody to record you, walking around doing things. It's like I had my son who's, 6 years old, obviously, and he kept yanking on me and being like, I want to go here, I want to do this. And it's hard to get good footage. So don't think I'll make a lot of videos like this in the future, but this was a lot of fun. And it was great to actually put out a game hunting video. So what are your guys' thoughts? What's your favorite NES game? What's your favorite Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle? Comment below. Love to hear what you have to say. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and stay awesome in this universe. Thanks. Bye. So a quick update. So after I recorded this original video that you guys are watching, a few days later we went up to the Milwaukee Zoo and had a great time there, me and my family. And we stopped in Lake Geneva, and there was this comic book store. It was like a little comic book store in the basement of this building or whatever. Kind of like this basement, actually. It's like an unfinished basement, and there was a ton of stuff. I wish I'd gotten some photos of it. It was a really neat little place there. This guy had tons and tons of comic books, and he had some action figures too. And I talked to this guy, and I guess he was actually moving his store to a different location. They weren't shutting down, they're just moving locations. And my son had mentioned, that he was looking for Mutagen Man. And I was like, there's no way this guy has any kind of thing like that. Well, it ends up the guy had purchased one of these for a friend, and the friend didn't want it because he already had it, I guess. He had purchased it somewhere else. So he had this or whatever. And now this is obviously not a vintage version of Mutagen Man. Obviously, this is a Super 7 one. And yeah, it was, of course, brand new and sealed. And naturally, of course, I was like, I don't know, should I get this? And I was thinking, you know what? We're out of town, having fun. You know what? This is a great story. This is a great story of how we got this. We got it from a comic book vendor who was changing stores and had bought it for a buddy who didn't want it. So that's a great story. So I'm like, you know what? Let's get it. Let's get it. And of course, naturally Jack got all excited and he ripped the box, because I told him not to open it, how kids are. I told him, I was like, don't open it. So yeah, we opened it when we got home, and pretty cool, pretty cool. Obviously this is bigger than the vintage Mutagen Man would be, but Jack, he doesn't care. He's like, this is so cool. All he cares about is he wanted a Mutagen Man and he finally got it. So, and it's cool, like the hands come off and there's like ones that like turn them into fists, or an open hand and whatnot. And there was a bunch of little tiny accessories. It's like, I don't know why they made these little things. It's like he can't actually hold these in his hand. It doesn't make any sense, but whatever. At the end of the day, toys were meant to be opened and meant to be played with. So I'm really glad that Jack did get a Mutagen Man after all. So yeah, just wanted to add this little part to the video at the very end. So anyways, again, thank you guys so much for watching. Later.